I've expressed my concern for this episode. What if Killmonger saved Tony Stark? Throughout my reviews for this series, I said I was worried Killmonger would just be the bestest ever. Well, I was right. Sort of. It starts out with the usual monologue from the Watcher. He then says,
"Every journey has a beginning, but change one step along the way, and you could end up at a very different destination."
We see Tony Stark in Afghanistan with troops from the beginning of Iron Man. The same events happen, but when the missile falls, Killmonger shows up and throws it in the air, saving Tony. Killmonger tells Tony they have to go and they leave. The Watcher says, heroes are not born. They're forged in darkness, shaped in battle, defined by sacrifice. While he's talking, we see Tony making the arc reactor, the shot of the Avengers in the first Avengers movie, and Tony sacrificing himself. The Watcher continues, without Tony Stark's fateful capture in Afghanistan, the age of Iron Man would never come to pass. Though the man was saved, a hero was lost, and a villain was given a new chance. Tony's at his press conference. Instead of not manufacturing weapons anymore, he says they have to do better, build bigger, fight badder. He announces Killmonger as his new chief security officer. We also find out that he's a highly decorated Navy SEAL. The reporter asks Killmonger why he was there, and Obadiah Stane tries to stop her, but she continues. Killmonger says he uncovered plans to assassinate Tony while he was on a deep cover operation inside the 10 Rings. Stane tries to stop him, but Killmonger reveals it was Stane who bankrolled it. Stane tries to deny it, but Killmonger shows receipts to prove it was Obadiah Stane. Tony calls for security. Stane tries to fight back, but Happy knocks him out. It makes no sense to me how Killmonger got his hands on all those records. He didn't have those skills initially. He was just a killer. He could plan assassinations, but as far as I remember, he wasn't all that tech savvy. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Tony throws a party and asks Killmonger to be his new COO, which was Obadiah Stane's job. He accepts. Pepper asks for Killmonger's background from Rhodey. He's basically an assassin for the Navy SEALs. Pepper is suspicious of Killmonger, but can't figure out why. Tony brings him to his workshop. Killmonger says that he developed plans for an automated combat drone, but he couldn't crack the interface. Tony tells Jarvis to find the blueprints, and he does. There's a montage of them working on it. They program it to fight like Killmonger. When they test it, it falls apart. Tony says this.
We need another power source. Hey, if we could miniaturize an arc reactor... Oh, that's a dumb idea.
Killmonger says they need vibranium. Tony says his dad used the last of it during the war. Then Killmonger pulls his ring out. Tony asks where he got it, and he says,
"This kind of stuff pops up all over the globe. You just gotta have the right hookup."
Tony says he might have just the guy, and he suggests Ulysses Claw. They come up with a plan to use Rhodey to get it since Stark Industries doesn't deal with the black market. They meet, and Claw shows a vibranium Dora Milaje spear. Claw shows off more, and the power goes out. Black Panther appears and takes out the guards. It's Chadwick Boseman again, so I'm not going to say that it's his last appearance this time, because I've been wrong the last 2 times. Rhodey tries to shoot him, but his suit is bulletproof. He takes the gun and tells him their quarrel is not with him. He asks him to let him take the vibranium back to Wakanda. Killmonger shows up and uses some sort of sonic blast gun thing on both of them. T'Challa fights through it, but Killmonger kills him. Rhodey asks why, and they have this exchange.
Why wear the uniform of your own oppressors? Fight for them? Die for them?
Kid, you gotta be part of the system to change the system.
Of course. Here we go again. Killmonger kills Rhodey. Claw comes out and we find out that they planned this. We see funerals for T'Challa and Rhodey. Killmonger brings the spear to Tony, but Tony shows a hologram from Jarvis of what happened. This happens.
Go ahead, call the cops. Still won't get here in time to save you.
Yeah, well, police are the law. I want justice.
Killmonger asks him what he's going to do, and Tony says he melted down the ring. We see the drone working. It picks him up and throws him. Killmonger tries to stop it, but he can't. Tony reminds him that it's programmed to his fighting style, so he freestyles and beats it. He throws the spear and impales Tony's shoulder. Tony says he thought they were fighting the same battles, and Killmonger says they aren't. Then this happens.
Two gearhead orphans trying to do right by our fathers. We sound the same to me.
The difference between you and me is that you can't see the difference between you and me.
Seriously? Why does it always have to be about race? Tony dies. Later, General Ross is there and Pepper accuses Killmonger of killing Tony. General Ross seems offended by it, since he's a high-ranking official, and Killmonger says,
It's cool, General. Cut the lady some slack. Her and Tony were tight.
General Ross says if they want war, then that's what we'll give them, and says to put the Liberator drones into production. Pepper says the board will need to be consulted first. Ross says the Patriot Act should cover it, and the US government is seizing control of all Stark Industries assets. We see a bunch of them at a military facility. They're flown to outside of Wakanda, and Killmonger meets with Ulysses Klaue. The two of them go at night to the border. Killmonger kills Klaue and brings him to the Wakandans. He meets with T'Chaka, Ramonda, and Shuri, who's a child in this. Remember that. T'Chaka decides to trust him. They go over how to stop the drones, and Killmonger says they have to let them in and close the shields behind them to disconnect them from the Jarvis AI. During this conversation, Shuri tells them how they operate. She's not even, or just barely in her teens, and she's already super smart. I mean, there are kid geniuses, but geez, man. Shuri questions why they should trust him. Why is she the one who doesn't trust him? You'd think they'd question it, since he worked for Stark and knows how things work. But he says, because he knows what it's like to have somebody taken from him. If he had the chance to avenge his father, he wouldn't hesitate. He then says this.
These people murdered your son. Even if there's only a chance I'm legit, isn't it worth the risk?
What kind of backwards logic is that? I think there's plenty of red flags there, buddy. But regardless, they decided to go through with it. We see Ramonda leading the Dora Milaje, preparing for battle. The drones are marching toward the border. They open the shields and the drones enter Wakanda. Ross, from the control room, says to show them the true might of the US military. They close the shields behind the drones, and they shut down. T'Chaka thanks him and says he has a home in Wakanda. Killmonger says,
I want a little bit more than that.
He pushes a button on a Stark Industries remote he has, and the drones boot up again. Shuri says that's impossible, since she knows everything, and Killmonger says that Tony must have built a backup transmitter. Shuri asks why he would do that, and he says Tony was a villain and didn't trust anyone. They fight the drones. Killmonger decides to do this.
Wakanda forever!
It sounds so weird when he says it. I don't know if it's just because of his American accent, or if it's also the way he said it was weird. Him and the rest of the guys on rhinos charge into the drones and fight. They easily take them out. They were building these drones up the whole episode, and they took them out like that. Killmonger finishes the last one off by doing this. This was obviously symbolism, but I don't think that would do anything to it. Cut to Killmonger standing on the cliff and looking at the sunset. T'Chaka talks to him, and he ends up giving Killmonger the herb to become Black Panther. When he takes it, he talks to T'Challa. He asks him if it was worth it. He says yes. Then this happens.
For what? A throne?
For vengeance. For my father. And for all my brothers and sisters who suffered through oppression while you just sat back and watched.
It seems like he cares more about his belief in being oppressed, even though he's a highly decorated Navy SEAL, and he got the benefit of the doubt when he was accused of killing Tony, than his father being killed. That's some twisted way of thinking. T'Challa states, you believe the cure for human suffering is more suffering. Killmonger replies with, the cure is power, and now I have it. T'Challa finishes with this.
Power unarmed can be a very volatile force, cousin. It will get the best of you eventually, on your plane or on ours.
Pepper walks into her office and sees Shuri in her chair. She asks how she got in there, and Shuri says she's there to help, and slides a holo tablet, or whatever you want to call it, over to her. It looks like there's a picture of Killmonger holding the sonic blast gun thing, and it has proof of him killing everyone. Pepper asks how she got it, and she says,
Mr. Stark was a genius, but he's not the only genius.
You're a child. Slow your roll. She says they have a common enemy, and Pepper responds by saying that both sides refuse to see it. Shuri replies with, "So let us open their eyes, together." The Watcher finishes the episode by saying, "Heroes are never really gone. They live forever, as do the ones they inspire that carry on the fight. You hear that? The girls are gonna save the day." I'm so sick of this identity politics bullshit. In the movie, it was more so about revenge for him than oppression. There was an element of that, but he really just wanted revenge. In this, it was the opposite. His father was a small part of it, while oppression was the bigger part. They didn't do a very good job of portraying his motivations in this. They made everybody dumb except for Pepper and Shuri. Everybody was just oblivious to all the red flags around them, and he was able to do whatever he wanted. You'd think since T'Chaka is responsible for his father's death, he'd hesitate to trust him. Not to mention Killmonger working for Tony Stark and knowing everything about the drones. And for some reason, Pepper and Shuri were the ones who were suspicious instead of the King of Wakanda and the people tasked with protecting Tony Stark and the country. The acting was once again hit or miss. Michael B. Jordan wasn't that great in this. He was very inconsistent. At some points he was okay, but at others he sounded like he wasn't trying that much. Mick Wingert was good as Iron Man, though. He sounded very close to Robert Downey Jr. He was able to capture the mannerisms and the character's personality really well. Beth Hoyt was terrible as Pepper Potts. She didn't sound anything like Gwyneth Paltrow, and was just emotionless the whole time. She had no range at all. Andy Serkis was great. He sounded exactly the same as he would in the movies. Don Cheadle was decent. He sounded a little different, but it wasn't enough to make me not like his performance. Mike McGill was okay as General Ross. He didn't sound quite like him, but he captured the character well enough. All of the royal family was good. Letitia Wright didn't even voice Shuri, though. It was Ozioma Akaga, if that's how you pronounce it. I didn't even notice until I looked up the cast for the review. This episode wasn't quite as bad as the first two, but it wasn't good. The writing was bad. I already went over the issues I had with it, so I won't go into those again. But isn't it interesting that every episode that uses identity politics in it has been bad? It makes you think.
You know what woke means? It means you're a loser. Everything woke. Everything woke. It's true. Everything woke turns to shit, okay? It's true. It's true. Look at what's happening.
It's so easy. These episodes have the same writers. When they're not burdened by adding identity politics into it, they can make decent episodes. It's so obvious what's holding this and the MCU back right now, especially with this series, but they continue to go down the path of wokeness. But thanks for watching. What'd you think of the episode? Like it? Love it? Hate it? Let me know. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, comment, share. I have another channel called The Thoughtful Outlaw Sports where I talk about basketball, baseball, football, anything else sports related I'm interested in. So check that out. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.